Good to Great by Jim Collins, 2001. In a nutshell, don't be satisfied with being merely good or excellent. Discover what it takes to be great. Most great companies enjoy years of obscurity before their results compelled the world to look at them. In fact, they seem just like any other company until a certain transition point saw them leave the pack behind. The leaps into greatness didn't occur through revolution. Contrary to popular opinion, these firms didn't get inexpensive new CEOs to turn things around. That's the mark of a mediocre company. And although the remarkable results of great companies sometimes make it appear as if their success happened quickly, the leap only happened after years of effort, what Collins calls pushing against the flywheel. The U.S. drugstore chain Walgreens is an old company that for 4 decades followed the general market in its performance. Then, in 1975, the company left the average and began its remarkable success. From 1975 to 2000, it outperformed the stock market by 15 times. It also outperformed the technology star Intel by 2 times, the much-lauded General Electric by 5 times, and the famed Coca-Cola by 8 times. What accounts for a sudden and sustained rise out of mediocrity? Jim Collins began a 5-year research effort to find out. Of the list of 11 great companies he came up with, whose inclusion in Good to Great, Why Some Companies Make the Leap and Others Don't, was based on superior performance for at least 15 years, Collins says. A dowdier group would be hard to find. It included Fannie Mae, a mortgage finance house, Gillette, razors, Kimberly-Clark, diapers, paper towels, Kroger, discount supermarkets, Nucor, steelmaker, Philip Morris, cigarettes, chocolate, coffee, and Pitney Bowes, back-office equipment. For each of these, Collins found a comparison company that had remained merely good. Example, Eckerd for Walgreens. What themes did he draw from the research? A certain kind of leadership. Collins wasn't really interested in leadership when he began the study. He wanted to get away from the great leader complex of many businesses, where it's thought that bringing in a dynamic leader will transform everything. He did, in fact, discover that leadership is extremely important. But the type of leader that makes for greatness was the surprise. Great company leaders are an unusual blend of ambition and humility, more like Lincoln and Socrates than Patton or Caesar. Collins describes Darwin Smith, head of Kimberly-Clark, as having an awkward shyness and lack of pretense, coupled with a fierce, even stoic, resolve toward life. Such leaders don't seem outwardly ambitious, because they channel their drive and determination into securing the long-term success of their company. They're reluctant to talk about themselves, instead pointing to the great people who've made their contribution and forever counting their blessings. Despite the evidence of hard work, Collins was surprised how many mentioned the word luck in their personal and corporate successes. These leaders also share a passion for the products their firm creates, however commonplace. For instance, people at Gillette, mainly because it excited them, sank $200 million into developing the Mach 3 razor, which became a great success. Because they put their firm first, these level 5 leaders, as Collins calls them, ensure that whoever succeeds them is likely to be just as effective, if not more. In contrast, executives of the comparison companies wanted their personal record to stand out, the more so if they picked weaker successors. Level 5 leaders intentionally keep a low profile. Ordinary people quietly producing extraordinary results. Making fortunes through selling their shares to takeover artists or leverage buyouts, it's hardly worth saying, is unthinkable. They're in it for the future greatness of the company, even well beyond their tenure. Many kept offices in the building long after retirement. The right people. Conventional wisdom has it that if you want to start and build a great company, you develop the concept to perfection and then hire the best people you can find. Collins and his team, though, found that when the executives of good-to-great firms began their corporate transformations, they worked seemingly in reverse. They first got the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus, and then figured out where to drive it. The benefits of this approach? If you have the right people from the beginning, they'll be able to adapt to any changes in direction or strategy. You will not have to motivate them because they share the desire to achieve greatness and therefore are already motivated. Interestingly, the great companies pay no more than the merely good. Remuneration is not a big factor in motivating people when they have something larger than money to aim for. Finally, great companies have cultures that are rigorous but not ruthless. Rigor means that everyone knows the standards they and the firm must live up to. If they're not met, they know they must go. Ruthlessness, on the other hand, is a characteristic of merely good companies. With little thought, they will hack off whole divisions through restructuring and sack thousands of workers through top-down decisions. Such a climate of fear is inherently unproductive and demotivating, whereas great companies have an esprit de corps that challenges everyone to be at their best. They know, as Collins puts it, that great vision without great people is irrelevant. Brutal honesty. Great companies are set apart by their reliance on the facts in making their decisions. They don't rely on management fads or heroic dreams of greatness to achieve their goals, instead engaging in continual self-assessment. Collins found that charismatic leaders can often get in the way of a company's success because the staff start to refer only to what the CEO will think, instead of data being the basis for decisions. The best companies want the truth to be heard, whoever speaks it. They have a culture of questioning and openness, uncorrupted by obsequiousness. Collins quotes Winston Churchill, "I had no need for cheering dreams. Facts are better than dreams." Churchill was also famous for his attitude of never surrender. Great companies also have this combination of believing that they'll prevail in the end while being willing to face up to the difficult reality. A reason for being. Great companies have a single idea or focus that guides everything they do. Such concepts may take many years to refine, but once in place, can generate enormous success because they are so differentiated. Walgreens has as its self-defining concept the best, most conveniently located drugstores, with high profit per customer visit. Wells Fargo didn't try to beat Citicorp or Bank of America to be the biggest global American bank. Instead, it focused on being a very profitable bank with a focus on the Western United States. Collins has a three-circle model to test for greatness. The first circle is awareness of what you can be the best in the world at. This involves a realistic appreciation of your abilities. It's not about letting your ego run wild. Neither will it involve simply what you're competent at. What you've been doing for years may not be what you can be great at. The second circle is what drives your economic engine, that is, where exactly your profit comes from in the most abundance. The third circle is passion. Very simply, doing only what you are deeply passionate about. If you can find something that you really can be best in the world at, that you love doing, and that makes you money, you have the beginnings of a great enterprise. If you have any 2 out of 3, you're likely to be merely successful. Not great. The book is worth getting for the chapter describing the model alone, as you can apply it to your life as much as to the organization where you work. What is it exactly that you stand for? Can you sum it up in a few words? If not, your current efforts are likely to be scattered and lacking energy, just like the merely good companies. Using technology wisely. Technology is never the basis for becoming great, Collins says. Management is. Technology was rarely mentioned as a major factor for success by executives in the great companies. It was never a case of this technology will make the company. More like, we could use this to take us further with what we're doing. Without an opportunity-spotting culture in place, other companies chose technology for technology's sake, but the exceptional companies only invested in cutting-edge ways of doing things when it matched up with their larger vision. Collins' assessment is that technology by itself is never a primary cause of either greatness or decline. The wise use of technology, however, is part of great company culture. Final comments. Good to Great was researched at the height of the new economy mania. Collins says of these years, "We entered a remarkable moment in history when the whole idea of trying to build a great company seemed quaint and outdated. Having a culture of discipline, one of the key characteristics of great companies that he identifies, did indeed seem old-fashioned. It turned out that these firms hadn't become great through being in the right industry at the right time, but had identified their unique strengths and worked relentlessly to capitalize on them." This conclusion is remarkably similar to that reached by David Lanz in The Wealth and Poverty of Nations, who found that while geography and natural resources, chance, certainly affected the development of countries, what made them prosperous was their culture of effort and enterprise. Before Good to Great, Collins wrote the celebrated Built to Last, about visionary, iconic companies that have stood the test of time. As the recipe book for hoisting yourself to an initial stage of greatness, Good to Great is actually the prequel, Collins says. The value of Built to Last is that it can show you how to stay great. Collins says that he doesn't think of his work as necessarily about companies or businesses. The principles of Good to Great can apply to any sort of organization, and he explicitly says that you can apply them to your life. You may be surprised how inspirational these books are. The excitement is in the knowledge that success can be measured, and its lessons applied methodically. With both books, you'll have a well-researched foundation for success that puts results before charisma. Jim Collins. Collins now heads a management laboratory in Boulder, Colorado, which studies enduring great companies. He's on the faculty of the Stanford University Graduate School of Business and previously held positions with McKinsey and Hewlett-Packard. His other books include Beyond Entrepreneurship, Built to Last, Successful Habits of Visionary Companies, has sold over 1 million copies.